So, today we're going to talk a little bit about film study fundamentals, one of my favorite topics and so necessary to great defensive line play. So, why study film at all? The whole point of it is to know what your opponent will do before they do it. If you study film the right way, you're going to be able to predict exactly what your opponent is going to run before they even run it. Think about the advantage that gives you in the pass and the run game. So, there are three fundamentals that you want to concentrate on and focus on when studying film. And those three fundamentals are tendencies, type, and time. I'll explain each of these a bit more in detail. So first, tendencies. Tendencies. What are those? Pre-snap tells that indicate run, pass, or play. So what I mean by play is you know exactly what type of play the offense is running, like counter or power. Or you can understand if it's highly likely that the offense is going to pass or run. So, what are a few examples of these tendencies? Uh, I have a list here, and I'll just read them out. You have eyes, splits, stance, personnel, down and distance, formation, situation, and field position. Each of these types of tendencies can give you real indicators of what the offense is looking to do on any particular play. So, as an example here, I'm going to go through this clip in detail to point out some of the tendencies that I would look at as I'm looking at this clip, as I'm studying film. What are some of the tendencies that we can pull out of this? So here's the clip, and then the play. All right, great. So we saw the clip, we saw the play. Now let's start extracting some of those tendencies and some of those pre-snap tells. First, we can look at the eyes. We see the blocker staring straight at their opponent. This is something that a lot of pros look at. If the offensive lineman is looking at their block, you know he's not blocking you. That gives you a great indicator that this is potentially going to be zone read. So that's one tell. Next, tight splits. Offensive lines will typically go tighter when it's a run play and wider when it's a pass play. So that's another indicator there. Next is down and distance. So for this particular play, it's 1st and 10. Many offenses want to establish a run on first down. Now it's very dependent upon offenses, but I'd have to say, I'd want to look at a hit chart and see, what's the run to pass ratio in 1st and 10 situations? Are they generally looking to run? Next is personnel. For like an 11 personnel where you have a tight end in the back, depending on the offense, this can be a very run-heavy personnel, or it could be a very pass-heavy one. Again, you want to look at a hit chart that looks at the breakdown of pass to run for these personnels. The game situation. Okay, this is the beginning of the game. I'd have to think that most offenses want to establish a run game because that will open up a pass game for them later in the game. So looking at what is the situation of the game. Are they backed up? Is it the beginning of the game? Is it 2-minute drill? What's the situation? And then we can look at formation here. We have a gun formation where the running back is right next to the quarterback. You do have a chance now for some zone read, right? So that can give you an indication of what type of play the offense is looking to run. So I just gave you a few examples of some tendencies or tells, as I like to call them. But what's really, really important is that as you're going through each play, watching film, extracting tendencies, and tells from them, you want to make sure you verify the tell. Now, dependable tendencies occur 70% of the time or more. So if we go back to the first clip I showed you where the tackle was staring at his assignment, I want to look at the rest of the film to see, okay, is at least 70% of the time he's staring at his block? If he is, you can now make some bets around what type of block he's going to do. Another way to verify if the tendency is dependable or not is your standard hit chart, and this is an example of one right here that shows down and distance, and then field position, and it shows the pass and run ratios. So again, here you want to look at the 70 percenters. Those are the ones that, we got 100% right here, 86%, 70% or above will give us a great indication if we can start placing bets towards if it's going to be a run or a pass. Great. So second fundamental here is type. You need to know who your opponent is, and you need to diagnose how your opponent is going to pass protect and what type of blocker they fall into. Now, there are a couple different subtypes within the major type of offensive lineman, and I'll go through all of them. So first is a hand type. So the first hand type here is a puncher. So what a puncher is going to do is they're going to lock and load their hands and then shoot them straight out at you like a punch. And so we have an example of a two-hand puncher here, and then we have an example of just an outside hand punch. These are the different types of punchers that you'll see. And the second type of hand type is the grabber, right? So what a grabber will do is rather than taking a straight path to you, he'll take a little bit more roundabout of a path, making it a little bit harder to swipe his hands away, and will generally grab some part of your jersey. And so we have a two-hand grab here, a low hand grab. Yeah, you see grabbing low. And then we have a mixed grab where he's grabbing both high and low. So these are a few of the hand types that you're going to see when looking at film. Next subtype that you want to look at is hand position. And so that's the different places that an offensive lineman, the places that the offensive lineman's hands will land on your body. So the different places will be a shoulders, mixed, belly, or chest. So here's an example. Here we see hands on the shoulders. Here we see low hands, belly. A mixed punch there where his hand is high. You can't see it great here, but his other hand is low. And then last but not least, a chest puncher. Okay, so the third and final subtype of a offensive lineman's type is his set. So the different types of sets that an offensive lineman can do are an angle set, a jump set, and a vertical set. So let's look at some more examples of these. So here's a vertical set. For a vertical set, an offensive lineman is going to go straight backwards. Usually, you'll have an offensive lineman who do this. They're a bit bigger and they can sit on bull rushes a bit better. So you generally have heavier offensive linemen doing vertical sets. Second set is an angle set where they're going to be coming out at a 45-degree angle and really looking to cut off your rush path. You can see it here, angle set, bam. And then third set is a jump set. This is a blocker who's trying to get his hands on you as quickly as possible and stop your momentum at the line of scrimmage. So that's the jump set. So why did I mention all these different subtypes for a blocker? Well, the idea here is that you want to take advantage of the type. Each type of punch, of hand placement, of set has its strengths and it has its weaknesses. And it's your job as a defender and a defensive lineman to create a rush plan that takes advantage of the offensive lineman's type. So here's an example of what that could look like. So as you're going through your film, you can categorize the hand type, aiming point, set, and then think about what are the rushes that will counteract the offensive lineman's hand type, aiming point, set, and oh yeah, there's even a great area down here as well where you can put the offensive lineman's tells. Like if we go back to the one of the first pictures I showed you of the offensive lineman staring at his block, I would put that tell right here. Obviously, I'd want to verify it, but this is a place for you to tell. But really, your rush plan should counteract what the blocker's type is. And linked to the D-line examples email, I have a template that you can download so that you yourself can use this and flesh out really the hand type, aiming point, set, your rush plan, and the tells of the offensive lineman. It's a really nice guide to be able to just kind of fill this out on a week-to-week basis. So let's give you some examples of what counteracts a blocker's type. So here we're going to see a swipe to the chest punch. So we see here this blocker, he's going on an angle set. He's a chest puncher. So he's aiming for this chest and he's going to take a direct line. So a pass rush move that can counteract that, you want to swipe his hands away. You want to be very quick with your hands and swipe them away. So we see here, double hand swipe and then swim. Great job there. Okay, here we have a jump setter where his hand is hitting the shoulder. You see the high hand hitting the shoulder, but he's also a puncher, right? So you can do this against a lot of taller offensive linemen if you're a shorter defensive tackle. Throw a rip in there. Defeat him at the line of scrimmage. That's the idea when defeating a jump setter, you have to defeat them at the line of scrimmage. And because he's a high hand puncher, punching out the shoulder, he knew that if he could dip underneath the punch, he could get the edge and get the sack. Here's another example of an inside rush. So here we have a jump setter. You see how he just wants to get his hands on him immediately? Jump set and then chest punch. So this is a great opportunity here for a counter swipe rush. Again, counteracting what the offensive lineman is doing. You want to match your hands to his hands and your rush to his set. Okay, and last but not least here, we have a vertical set with low hands, and he's punching. So again, I told you a lot of bigger offensive linemen will do a vertical set, but look at how much momentum this defensive end has built up, and he can just bull rush this offensive lineman and counteract the set. So that's how you would combat a vertical set. So there's a few examples, but there's far more that I could go through. But the main idea here is that your rush should counteract the type of the offensive lineman and exploit his weaknesses. So third fundamental here is time. How much time do you want to spend watching film? How many hours are you dedicating to film study? And here's a few tips on that. So first of all, I would watch no more than 3 games. when you're choosing and selecting your film, you want to watch film of the offense facing opponents that run a similar defense to you, because you'll see how do they like to take advantage of that defense. But you want no more than 3 games there. Now, why just 3 games? You want to avoid analysis paralysis. By watching too much film, by spending too much time in the tendencies, by spending looking at all the different charts and getting way too in the detail, you make yourself at risk to analysis paralysis. You don't want to get on the field and have a bunch of different numbers and sets running through your mind. You want a very simple, quick list of tendencies that you can look at and go, okay, these are the ones that I'm going to depend on in a game. Now, there is an exception to the rule. You can watch as much film as possible as you want while looking for individual tells. Now, what do I mean by that? When studying your opponent and the blocker on an individual level, not looking at formation, not looking at field position, not looking at the game time, any of that sort of stuff. You're looking at your specific opponent, and if they have any sort of tells, a foot pointed out, looking at their block, their hands in a certain position, you can spend as much time as you possibly want to look for those tells that would tell you what type of block, or if it's a run or if it's a pass. This is something that greats like Oziu Manura, this would be the majority of his film study, where he would go through and watch his opponent and look for the specific tells of his opponent to see if he could get some sort of read on if there was some sort of hand position or foot placement that would indicate pass or run. So here's an example of how I would go about studying film in a full week's worth of practice. So this is going off of that the game is on Friday, and that all your film study would happen before the next game on the next Friday. So first, on Saturday, you want to take that time to analyze the past game. What did you do well? What do you need to improve on? What are the areas that you can really work at, can improve on? You want to make sure that you're able to take coaching and to improve yourself during this time. Very, very important. Then on Sunday, you want to get those 3 games that I talked about and run through those. You're just going through those clip by clip, and you should have a notebook out by you, jotting down some of the tendencies that you're seeing. Oh, when a blocker looks at his blocks. Oh, when backed up, they do play action pass. Just go through and start jotting down some of the tendencies that you think might be really great tells pre-snap. Then on Monday, you're going to use that time to identify the type of offensive blocker you're going against and create a rush plan. Look at all your different matchups. You may just play one position, or you may play across the whole defensive line, but you want to make sure that you're understanding how that blocker blocks, how their hand, what's their hand type, what's their aiming point, what's their set type, so that you can create a rush plan to counteract it, and then practice it throughout the week. And then Tuesday through Thursday, you want to keep identifying and verifying the tells, making sure that they're happening 70% of the time or more. And then Friday, you want to quickly reference any tells that you built up during the week. Again, this shouldn't be some super long sheet. It should be a very short list, 5 to 10 tells that you can bring into the game, and then just let go and have fun. Great. So to wrap things up here, I thought this Sun Tzu quote was very appropriate. He said in The Art of War, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. It's film study that allows you to know your enemy. Without it, you're going in blind, and you actually do need to fear the battle. But if you do film study, you do go through these fundamentals, and you're dedicated to just honing your craft and studying your opponent, you're going to come into the game with no fear, and you're going to make some plays out in the field.